What's going on, guys? So I am out here at Colonia del Rey RV in Corpus Christi, Texas. Their new location, so they've moved from their old location to this much larger one. This used to be Bishop RV, or at least the location of Bishop RV, and Colonia del Rey bought them out. Anyways, you know, the point of today's video is going to be interesting because as you look at RVs, I know everyone is thinking the same thing. They've gotten so expensive. I mean, when you look at pickup trucks and cars, I don't even think, you know, percentage-wise, cars and trucks have gone up in price as much as RVs have in the last year. And I want to talk about that and explain some of the reasoning behind that, but also why they're probably not likely to go down in price anytime soon. So hang tight, I'll be right back. All right, so as you walk around an RV dealership lot, if you were shopping a year and a half ago, and you're shopping today, there's no doubt that you've seen huge spikes in prices, right? You've probably seen RVs that typically had an MSRP of $65,000 now going for like $90,000, and the sale price is what the MSRP used to be. So, you know, the pricing on RVs has simply gone straight up. It's skyrocketed. And I want to talk about why that's happening because it's really important to understand. But before I talk about that, what I want to mention though is even though you're seeing that happen, the positive side of a lot of this is if you bought an RV a year ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and you're trying to get rid of it, you're getting more for it than you've ever gotten. I mean, if you bought an R-Pod 2 years ago and you paid $26,000 for it, a lot of people are telling me they're selling it for $30,000. They're selling it for $4, $5, $6 grand more than what they paid for it. And that's pretty amazing because RVs have always been one of those things where you just automatically knew it was a depreciating asset. It was just going to lose all of its value within a short period of time. And I think a lot of people are realizing now, if you took care of your RV, if it's in pretty reasonable shape and you're trying to get rid of it, you're able to get more for it now than you've ever been able to get. And the reason for that is because you're paying more for them if you want a new one, right? A lot of people are buying used pickup trucks now because the cost of pickup trucks have gone up so high and the availability has gone down, so they're getting what they can find. And if they can find a gently used truck and they can save some money, that's what they're doing. And the RV industry is no different. People would love to come out here and buy some of these, but if you're shopping a year ago and you're shopping today, you'll see that the prices have gone up a lot. Now, why have the prices gone up so much? Is it simply because the industry is trying to gouge everyone? No, that's absolutely not it at all. I've been doing this long enough and I have enough communication with the folks in the RV manufacturing industry to realize the challenges they have are stressful for them, and the margins they have not gone up, even though the pricing of their units has gone up. And in some cases, their actual ability to produce the units has gone down. Let me use this R-Pod as an example. When you look at this unit, there's a lot of really nice characteristics about it. They've done a lot. And when you look at it, you're like, well, it doesn't look like there's a parts shortage. But let's talk about what goes into something like this. So the sidewall material, this is Azdel. The cost of Azdel has gone up, like it's spiked like you wouldn't even imagine. Like, I don't know what it is today, but at some point it was like 30 or 40% more expensive than it was in the past. The cost of steel went up like 30%. The tires went up like 25, 30%, and in some cases they went up 40 or 50% at a time. Components like your tongue jack, your wire, copper, skyrocketing in price. The windows, stuff that they have to import, skyrocketing in price, plus tariffs to bring it into the US, and the ability for it to even get in and not be sitting in a shipping container in a ship offshore, you know, has caused all sorts of delay issues. The adhesives that actually hold the parts together have become scarce, and not just scarce, they become incredibly expensive. The components for the suspension, valves, little accessories, refrigerators, air conditioning units, lights, all of these things are getting incredibly hard to come by for RV manufacturers who are having to fight against other brands to get these components for their specific brand. That's why in some cases you'll see one model like this that'll have a Dometic unit for an air conditioning unit up top, and the next one will have a Furrion unit, and the next one will have a GE unit. It's because they would traditionally put all of the same units across their entire lineup, but because of all the supply shortages, they haven't been able to do that. They get what they can get in the quantities they're able to get it at, and that's very different from the past. So all of these things factor into why RVs cost so much more, especially if an RV is sitting on an assembly line waiting for a component and it's sitting there 2 weeks longer than it normally would, and it's not able to be flipped and turned into a sale, right? If that RV can't make it out to a dealership lot, well, naturally, it's not going to be able to make that company profitable, so it has to sit there and it has to wait for the components until it can be finished. And that's all, you know, driven into the price. It really is. But here's the biggest one: labor. Actually finding people to work is very, very difficult if you run a factory. Some of you probably know that if you work in a manufacturing type environment, it's very difficult to find people to work. And the problem you run into now is that even if you do find people, oftentimes they may not be skilled in the specific craft that you have them working in, but it's the only labor you can find at that time. And until they can get trained and ramped up, you just kind of have to deal with maybe the lack of quality that you might be looking for. So where does all of this terminate? It terminates at the end of the line with quality control and trying to determine what is an acceptable product to kick out the door and send to a dealership versus something that has to be redone. And that's where the consumer takes a hit. You take a hit in two areas. You're paying more for a unit, and you are possibly not getting the same level of quality out of that unit. A lot of it, again, is because you have less than skilled labor working at something they've never done before. And unfortunately, that doesn't add up to a really, really high quality product. Now, I'm not saying unskilled labor like you're just hiring anybody off the street. I'm saying unskilled labor like you might have a guy that his entire career working for the RV industry, his entire job was, you know, tacking up some rubber stripping or putting a piece of molding on, but now he's doing roofing, or now he's assembling axles, or now he's, you know, putting stoves and microwaves inside of an RV. They're doing things that they weren't doing before, and the manufacturers are hiring up as many people as they can to do them because they need the people. They need the people to kick these units out so they can hit dealership lots. And you've probably realized that for almost a year, a lot of RV dealership lots were near empty. It was similar to the automotive industry, but it wasn't the same excuse, right? In the automotive industry, it was a microprocessor chip shortage, and it still is. And that's one of the main reasons why you don't see a lot of vehicles on car dealership lots. In the RV world, though, it's because they can't get people to assemble the product because it's 100% hand-assembled product. They can't get them moving down the assembly line, and they can't fulfill orders. So it's a similar challenge, but it's a different product. And what I can honestly tell you, and this is just from knowing all of this, is that it doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. And I mean the problem. It seems as if the challenges that the industry has, when they find a fix to one challenge, all of a sudden a new challenge pops up, and it's usually supply chain related. It's usually getting a component or a part or something that they need to finish off units that they just can't get. And if they can get them, there's a chance that the one that they're getting, because the manufacturer of that component may be dealing with staffing problems, might not be the highest quality either. So there's just all sorts of really crazy shortages in, again, adhesives, plastics, steel, and everything has gone up in price. And a really good way of explaining this is with our new property, as we look at building a home and we look at building some structures, you look at the cost of wood, and everyone knows that lumber prices have skyrocketed. They went astronomically high, and even though they've come down, they're nowhere near what they used to be pre-pandemic, right? That's the excuse for everything. But this is the challenge now. That 2x4 that you might be buying might cost 3 times more than it used to, but it's not a super 2x4. It's likely going to be a lower quality 2x4 than what you could get pre-pandemic, pre-price spikes, pre-gouging, whatever you want to call it. So the challenge you run into is you're paying more, a lot more, for something that is arguably lower quality and something that you pretty much get what you get. You can't choose the lumber you want like you used to in the past. You can't pick things based on price, based on what you want it to look like anymore. Everything is kind of what it is, right? If you go shopping at Lowe's for lumber, it's what it is, and you're going to pay that same astronomically high price for whatever you're buying for something that, again, is arguably lower quality than it was in the past. And that's just a shame. You know, I can't wait till prices settle down. I don't know if they will. This might be the new normal we live in. That's the reason why I haven't sold my truck yet and gotten a new truck, is because I don't think I'd be able to replace it. I don't think I'd be able to find the truck that I want. And if I do, You know, shoot, I've heard of more new truck problems coming off of manufacturers' lines than I've ever heard of in the past. More recalls, more issues, more things that have been popping up. And since my truck has been, you know, really reliable for me, I haven't had any problems, I don't see a need to upgrade it at this time until prices settle down and availability picks back up, so the buyer has more choice. And that's the most important aspect of it. The more choice that you have is going to be the best opportunity for you to make an informed and a smart purchasing decision. Anyways, guys, I hope this video makes sense. I hope that this entire topic resonates with you all, because everyone is wondering why prices on RVs have skyrocketed, and it's the same excuse every industry is using: material costs, material availability, and labor. All of that. And I think it's exactly the same for this industry as it is for so many others. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.